on Cyberbullying by Valerie Lynn. In today's split social realm of cyber time versus non-cyber time, much good has come out of this shift, and much bad, of course, has also come out of it. The good that has come out of it is more obvious in how people who live in different geographical locations can still keep in touch via any of the various social media sites available today. That is one good thing, and there are many more. However, I wish to focus on only some of the negative effects that this increasing foray into a mostly cybernetic life has had. The main one that I wish to express my thoughts on is how many persons who would otherwise be deemed sociopathic and/or criminal-minded and intentioned often thrive with insidious relish on the cybernet. After all, people can always hide behind falsely self-representative avatars and even usernames, etc. It never ceases to both fascinate, astound, and yet disturb me how many crimes of the emotional and psychological variation run so rampant on various websites and social media forums. In many states, at least here in the United States of America in which I reside, the kinds of verbal and emotional/psychological violence which some people inflict upon others is punishable by law amongst regular society. For example, the crime designated as intentional infliction of emotional distress is, at least in my state of Ohio, deemed a felony, which is not only subject to criminal prosecution, but also to civil prosecution or lawsuits in some cases. Thus, unfortunately, many of these people who cannot fulfill their criminal and violent impulses out within regular society find their relative dark utopia on the World Wide Web. In fact, if anyone has ever interacted, even with the best of intentions, on any website, eventually will see this becoming a very disturbing verity before their very eyes. Although it is true that the issue of legislation of cyber laws to bring these people to justice and to protect the community, especially children and teens, from these kinds of people and the enforcement of them would be tricky, if not altogether impossible to implement and sustain. Nevertheless, this is why it is of utmost importance for individual users, who of course are not of the perpetrator variety, to report any abusive and/or potentially harmful activity, and that most certainly includes verbal activity, as the Internet is mostly a verbally centered interface to the administrators of whatever particular website the crime. And make no bones about it, yes, emotional abuse, psychological violence is a crime, is committed on. Things can be done, one person at a time, to promote a healthy and safe environment for all persons, except those cyber criminals mentioned above who have forfeited this privilege through their recklessness and malfeasance. We must remember, where there are people, there needs to be laws, and this includes the Internet. All human beings need to be held accountable for any acts of malfeasance. This holds true for regular society and for cyber society. In finale, most importantly, there needs to be laws that are consistently enforced if any human society, community is to remain free from undue duress or impingement upon its overall well-being. And this includes developing discernment of more hidden and covert forms of psychological violence and abuse, which certain types of individuals employ. But this time, folks, it's all up to us. It's all up to individual persons to not only make sure we ourselves are not committing these crimes, but to keep our cyber communities healthy and safe, one report at a time. Let the session hereby commence. Vulneratus non victus, cyberbully.